That is the sound of a distracted, divided, and dead American until they hear. Battle for Freedom, triggering change, one heartbeat at a time. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Batministering from Battle for Freedom on Mojo5 Radio, and I'm glad that you are with me this week as we get into just a lot of fun, a lot of excitement. And I don't know about you, but I hear that Indiana's about to get some cold weather again, and it's just a little bit too chilly for me. Just a little bit too chilly for me. My website, Battle4Freedom.com. But I also want you to do me a favor. I want to go to mojo50.com. If you were listening live, you would have probably had a chance to listen to Defending 2A with Jason Gouffre. Excellent perspective on guns, bang, bang, and shooting, gat, gat, gat. If you really want to hear a good perspective on understanding firearms, especially as our country is plagued. The United States of America is the only country plagued with gun violence. If you believe that, I actually have good Starbucks coffee for you. And no, in all seriousness, if we want to do this the right way, I'm going to tell you about better coffee than Starbucks. I'm going to tell you about American Pride Roasters coffee. That's it. I've hit the snooze button a dozen times, and now I have to finally get going. But I'm not going to do this day right if I don't start it off with a cup of American Pride Roasters coffee, the official coffee of Mojo5 Radio. But I'm not going to lie to you. They have a wide variety of blends, but I'm leaning towards the one that's named after me, Watson's White Chocolate Caramel. You know what? It sounds as good as those words that just rolled off of my mouth. Listen, get it today. AmericanPrideRoasters.com. Tell them that Watson from Battle for Freedom sent you, and you want Watson's White Chocolate Caramel blend to start your day off. Join American Pride Roasters Coffee and Mojo5 Radio, and most important, Battle for Freedom, as we celebrate the best coffee in the nation, American Pride Roasters. So I'm going to definitely need a tall glass of American Pride Roasters coffee as I get through this broadcast. There's going to be a lot I'm going to share. There's a lot I'm going to say, but I'm going to do the best that I can to be less angry, and I'm going to be as calm as I possibly can. If you want to interact with the program, I see Heidi, Mitchell, Linda, Josh, and Jill, Kathy, Ginger, and Curtis have joined. They went to facebook.com/Mojo50 Radio to leave a comment there, say good morning. Really appreciate it. Keep me lifted up in your prayers as I try to do this broadcast with as best energy as I can without you believing that there's something wrong with me because I'm not losing my top, because I know that there are times that when you listen to me and you're probably like, dude, turn down the volume or turn down the American Pride Roasters coffee, but this is one of the things that's happening as our country gets consumed with more and more death, as COVID-19 is no longer stopping. It's very interesting that COVID-19 was able to squash the number of deaths via mass shootings. And for some strange reason, as states are lifting their COVID restrictions, more and more people are actually getting a little bit wild. The freaks are coming out no longer at just night, but they're coming out at all times of the day. And so as we sit here, and I'm going to talk to you about the whole idea of badministering the truth. I have to talk about this because of the fact that right now there's a major problem. No. I'm not going to play you the meme from a few good men where you hear the Colonel Jessup say you can't handle the truth. No. It's no longer that you can't handle the truth. This is badministering the truth because of the fact that you do not want to hear it. Or what we're injecting into our society, injecting harsh toxins into the environment, is the very truth that I want to share, that we understand why our nation is in the state that it has been for the last, not just the last decade, not just the last 4 years, not just through the Obama administration, but this has been, what I'm about to share with you has actually been in the culture, has been in society. Right now, if we did not have cell phones to sit there and record everything taking place, you wouldn't have this much data overwhelming you. The problem is people have been selectively administering truth into they've been selectively administering truth into society, but they don't see that they were injecting toxins into society, into their families, into their communities, into this country, and we are at where we are right now. And if they refuse to hear the truth, God will turn up the volume. Don't think about the 1980s movie with Christian Slater of Pump Up the Volume. Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit are about to pump up our hypocrisy. They're about to pump up our sin and our refusal to hear the truth. Good morning, Lep. Good morning, Amy, and thank you for being part of this. See, we can sit here and ignore this as much as we want to, but God's going to continue to pump up the volume, pump up the volume, pump up the volume, kill, kill, kill. And that's exactly what's happening in the Black community. And y'all want to keep acting like it's just white people. It's just cops. It's just them. I'm telling you, what Yug had, and a lot of people keep thinking that they've got a better understanding on this. Yug had this one statement that I love, and he said this. He said, "It matters little if your eyes are wide open, but your lens is tainted." It matters little if your eyes are wide open, but your lens is tainted. The reason why we say this is because of the fact that there's so much focus, there's so much energy that we literally have a society created on being victims. We have our language, we have our culture that is surrounded around a victimhood mentality, and we basically perpetuate that victimhood mentality into our children, and we don't understand why our kids will say and do dumb things. And then we sit here and just stay in our ignorance, our willful ignorance, or even it may just be our overconfidence in ourselves, believing that we're something that we're not, and God's about to show us, no, you're wrong. And Family Feud, it's not just 3 strikes, you're out. No. What is it? 9? What was it? 3 strikes, 3 outs. That's 9 times 9, 81. So it's 81 strikes that God's putting on. He's putting 81 X's on the Family Feud board, because you're not even going to get a chance to have more than one chance to get this right. He's putting all 81 ants all up on the screen at the same time. Get it wrong, boom, you're done. It's over. And this is the reason why it's so disgusting and it's so annoying about how bad this has become. Because another thing that do I want to do it now? Yeah, no. I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait on this one here. Because another reason why we are where we're at right now, that the ignorance in the Black community has so infected the culture, that the woke theology and the wokeness and the liberation theology, the wokeness, the Black Lives Matter nonsense lie, the Black Lives Matter nonsense lie, it's nothing but trash. It is nothing but filth from hell. The moment it came out on the scene, a lot of us conservatives, a lot of us who are Black and who are conservative, and we've been saying this for the longest time, sorry, the problem's in the community. No, don't march. If you're not marching for the lives that are being shot, we told you about the numbers in Chicago. We told you about the numbers in St. Louis. We told you about the numbers in Detroit. We told you about the numbers in Dearborn. We told you about the numbers in Memphis. We told you about the numbers in New York. We told you about the numbers in California, LA, Compton, what is it? Straight up whatever? Out of Compton, out of gangsta. Out of bullets. Straight out of bullets. That's what's going on. that's been plaguing the community long before cops were turning around looking for black boys. Black boys were looking for black boys and black girls to turn around and kill. But we don't want to have that discussion. We don't want to talk about the culture, our rap culture, our culture of rap, our culture of sagging pants, our culture of bling and everything. Because we have to be so wrapped up in basically saying gat, 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 and bling, 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 that God's saying cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. All you doing is cashing in on your race stories rather than having shame and basically covering your eyes because of the fact that there is no excuse for the silence. When we say silence is violence and you sit there and you continue to be silent about the violence that's been going on in the Democrat-controlled black cities and around the country, around the nation that you live in, and you don't want to say anything? God's like, oh, you just keep telling me how much longer you want to play this game. Because not only am I going to let you continue to see it more and more, I'm even going to make it start coming out of your skin, coming out of the pores of your skin, so that you can understand how much you have rejected the truth, you have rejected me, and you have rejected common sense. And that you have sat there and you keep crying wolf about what's going on here, but you now got society. You've got society backing your ignorance, backing your deception that there really is a problem of white people killing black people. You got it so much so that Chris Cuomo, he makes a statement on Friday where he says, police reform in the U.S. will not happen until white people's kids start getting killed. Cuomo made the remarks in context of a couple of recent police shootings where the suspects did not comply with law enforcement or attempted to run. And you know what the answer is? You really do. You don't like it. I don't like it. It scares me. Shootings, guns, laws, access to weapons. Oh, no. I know when they'll change, Cuomo said. Your kids start getting killed. White people's kids start getting killed. Some smoking that doobie that's actually legal, probably in your state now, but they don't know what it was. And then a kid runs, and then pop, 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 pop. Cop was justified. Why'd you run? Or he had a baseball game tonight. Oh, a white kid? Oh, a big family, that house over there? Those start piling up. What is going on with these police? Oh, or maybe we shouldn't have the police, or that kind of mania, that kind of madness. That majority will be, it's your people, Cuomo said. See, now black people start getting all guns, forming militias, protect themselves. Can't trust deep state. Woo-woo. So you'll see a wave of change and access and accountability. We saw it in the 60s. That's when it changes, because that's when it's you. You know what it sounds like? Everything that Chris Cuomo just said is nothing but ghetto ignorance. That Chris Cuomo is sitting there and Chris Cuomo has spent too much time in the ghetto that he's now got ghetto logic and he's got ghetto ignorance and he's just nothing but ghetto. In his effect and in his desire, it sounds like in everything that he was saying, he was reading off the lyrics of a rap song that came out maybe 20, 30 years ago. That sounds like Chris Cuomo was reciting a current rap song that's sitting there ignoring the reality that's happening in the community. Let's go to one of Yug's statements. He says, when learning of an infant drowning in the family's bathtub, what is the first question that comes to mind? No. I'm not going to do that one yet. Hang in there. Sorry. A little premature on that one because of the fact that there's another one that I want to go to. Here is the other one that he had. Here's a picture of, for those of you who are driving in your car, you might be listening on iHeartRadio, you might be listening in Spreaker, you might be listening to this podcast. I don't know where you are. I just want you to know that Yug is probably one of the greatest minds that the world has, and just puts stuff playing out there that just begs you to ask questions. That's what I do. I do a lot. Like this whole discussion today is based on the fact that I post things and I get unique responses, and then I decide that, let's talk about them. But here's the picture that I'm dealing with for those of you who are driving in your car right now. It shows a picture of a faucet with a drip, a slow drip. On the right, and that's on the left, and on the right, it shows a picture of a faucet or a pipe that's bursting. Water is everywhere. It looks like you're going to be losing near 3 gallons per second of the water that's coming from this pipe. And then his question is, as a quote unquote thinking homeowner, which would you address first? Which would you address first? Now, I'm going to leave this up for those of you who are watching on social media, and maybe you might need some more time because you're probably counting the drops, you're counting how much water, you're probably doing the math, you're bringing out your calculators, and you're running whatever your computer simulation programs that can actually tell you which one might be the one to address first. That's perfectly fine. I know you need that much time. So while you're sitting there and you're doing this, I'm going to start talking about another article. And so this was something that was I just saw this morning, earlier today. They just shot my baby. 7-year-old girl is killed and her father, 28, seriously injured in a shooting while they sat in their car at a Chicago McDonald's drive-thru. A 7-year-old girl was fatally shot on Sunday afternoon while her father sustained gunshot injuries as they sat in a vehicle at a McDonald's drive-thru. It happened just after 4 p.m. in Chicago's Homan Square neighborhood. According to the police, both victims were inside the vehicle when they heard the gunshots and felt the pain. I'll give you a picture of that so you can see what the car looks like. Yes, Chris Cuomo. Yes, Chris Cuomo. It ain't the po-po who just turned this car, this nice Infiniti into Swiss cheese. It wasn't the po-po who did this, Chris Cuomo. It was other Negroes going gat, 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 gat. Well, let me see. I'm seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 shots. Wait. I think 17 is on the gas tank cover. Oh wait, I see 18 just on the bumper. I'm sure that there are more. The fence is blocking it, but here it is. Gat, 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 gat. That's been going in Chicago go for decades, not just years. Decades it's been like this. Decades that these communities have been worn down like this. And while y'all sitting here blaming the police who's going gat, 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 gat on black folk, God's saying, you want to continue to keep up with this? It's so bad that even this black police officer who lives in black Chicago is black darn tired of the ignorance that you're attacking him and his fellow officers to make it seem like this is a problem it's a prevalent issue. You remember the issue of the slow drip pipe and the bursting pipe? Black folk killing black folk with the guns, with their gat, 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 with their poses and their pictures of believing that they're thugs and that they want to turn around and act like they're all that. They gangster, they strong, they hit, that no one's going to stop them. They are in this position where even the police officers, as Minneapolis boards up, because we're getting close to the end of the Derek Chauvin trial. We are now getting close, and Minneapolis is boarding up. Boarding up. I want you to consider that. See, for those of you who hate Trump so much, those of you who are so fixated on talking about the violence of Donald Trump, I want you to understand that the boarding up mentality happened long before January 6, 2021. But because Democrats, because of all of you who continue to make it seem like it ain't happening because of us, it's not happening because of us. God's saying, you want to play that game? You want to play that game? Okay, let's play. Come on, let's go. We're going to do this. Because as you sit here, and many of you held Donald Trump accountable for the words that came out of his mouth and wanted to basically say it was him who was responsible for what happened on January 6th, as lives were lost and everything like that. We got some time for this. Oh yeah. But let's have some fun. Let's talk about Mrs. Insurrection Maxine Waters. Let's talk about some Insurrection Maxine Waters. This is what Maxine said.
Rest, I could not be satisfied without coming here to let the family know and the friends know and the people of this community know and all those who have organized for justice know that I stand with you, and I'm going to stand not only with you but continue to fight in every way that I can for justice. What's
your opinion of the police reform efforts that are being discussed right here? And do you think that any of them have any hope of...
Second on Maxine. I want to stop for a second on Maxine Waters. Let me see if I could break this down for you so you understand exactly what happened with Maxine Waters. Because of the fact that Maxine Waters on audio, I will put the link out for you in Facebook. You know what? I'm going to put the link out for you. When we come back from the break, go to facebook.com/Mojo50 Radio and you look in this broadcast and there will be a link to the full audio that you could download and you can share it out with as many people as you can. Actually, what I'll even do today too is I even have the video footage saved on my computer, and I will even, the audio is not great, and I'm going to clean up the video, clean up the audio, and basically put a link to both of them. I'll make sure that you have available to it on my Facebook page, on Twitter, on my webpage, everywhere, so you can have copies, so you can hear Maxine Waters basically tell the people, we want a guilty verdict, period, and we won't accept anything else, and if we don't get anything else, we not burn this place down, but you amp up, you turn up the amount of destruction that you're doing in these cities until people take notice of what we say. 3 years ago, Maxine Waters said in a video, in an audio, clear as mud can say, what she said, and she taunted all of her supporters. She taunted all the anti-Trump people. Find people in the Trump administration and make their lives miserable. She sanctioned terrorist activity. And once again, she's doing this. But here's a part about this really interesting too. Because even in this video, she's once again telling people, destroy, destroy, destroy until our message is heard. Maxine Waters even goes so far, they said, well, what do you think about the curfew? The curfew, the city mandated curfew, that people need to be home at a certain time. Maxine Waters on tape, in video, basically says, you know what? I don't believe in curfews. What curfew? I don't care for curfews. I'll do whatever I want. So she openly says, this is a congresswoman. By definition, congresswoman, a lawmaker, is now openly saying she's a lawbreaker because being black and angry is more important than being obedient. See, when you're injecting toxins into your community, when you're having the talk, when you sit in there and your vision and your lenses are tainted black and you can't see anything else, that's when you start developing language. That's when you start developing language because remember, she said, are you going to stay here? She's like, oh no, I'm not going to stay here. But I came in to give my message, but she's going to incite everybody to violence and leave. Because she's using all of you as pawns, wrapped up in your emotions, You too blind to see. You nothing but a lemming for the people who are destroying your city, your culture, your way of life. It's all built on your culture and way of life. I'm Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom. Let's go to a break and I'll talk to you on the flip side.
And now, Watson leaving the Chick-fil-A drive-thru.
Let's quickly pray. Rub-a-dub-dub. Let's eat some grub. Amen.
That's not biblical. Awkward! I got pickles in my sandwich. Triggered!
Just pick them out.
Daddy,
Yes, sweetie.
can we get something for Mommy?
Sweetie, she's probably busy highlighting someone's hair and her food will get cold. Besides, we should have ordered it before leaving.
Okay. Daddy,
Yes, sweetie.
what's highlighting?
It's when people unhappy with their hair have to put chemicals in it and mess up God's blessing.
Triggered! Whoa! Spite much? Triggered! Daddy,
Yes, sweetie.
are you jealous because you're bald? Awkward!
Eat your food, girls.
Okay, Daddy. I dropped my sandwich.
Pick it up and kiss it up to God.
That's not biblical.
I wonder if your mom goes through this. Welcome back, everyone. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Battle4Freedom Radio. And we are just in another week of just fun, and just laughing at so much, and just appreciate every last one of you. If you want to go check out my website, Battle4Freedom, actually wait a few hours before you do it, but definitely today, before the end of the day, check out Battle4Freedom.com. But I also want you to go to mojo50.com and share it out with as many people as you possibly can, because of the fact that the goal is to keep everybody informed and have a different perspective, and we go from there. Folks, things are so bad that we refuse to hear the truth. And I'm sitting here and I want to talk about the whole idea of badministering the truth. As we sit here, we inject toxins into our community. And what God is allowing to happen is more and more of the insanity that's been killing black folk. God is allowing the world to see it. See, I find it very interesting that every time we find out more that it's black people killing black people, the language changes. Like I literally had a friend this past weekend. She shared her opinion, and I'm glad she shared it because I believe that her opinion is something that's shared with a lot of individuals. So this past weekend, and I didn't know about it, and I'm kind of glad I didn't know about it on Friday, about the tragic shooting that happened Thursday night in Indianapolis at a FedEx Center near our Indianapolis airport, where it comes to find out a 19-year-old white man who was notified, whose mother notified the FBI that he was suicidal after making the purchase of a firearm. So here's another person, here's another shooter, here's another mass shooter who was on the FBI watch list, but still managed to kill 8 people. But that's another story. But my friend made this statement about the fact that, you know what, the person, the 19-year-old who shot and killed 18 random strangers was a crazy nut because they just killed random individuals. But then I brought up that, a month ago, we actually had a black man who killed 5 black people, one of them a child, may even have been his own child, his baby mama, the child, and 4 other people, and 3 other people, because he wanted a stimulus check. But my friend's comment was, well, he wasn't a crazed nut. There must have been something going on with him at the time to turn around and for him to turn around and go off and just do that. So we need to investigate why he got to the breaking point that he was going to kill these people for a stimulus check. And so I'm sitting here, I'm trying to understand, how is it that murder by people who look like us get changed instead of, I think, wouldn't it be more crazy to feel comfortable enough to actually shoot someone that you love or someone that you created? This is where we are when we have flipped the script, where being black, the language of being black, has been so horrific that we do not want to hear the truth anymore, and we don't. And when I talk about injecting toxins, harsh toxins into the environment, I'm telling you that the reason why Dante Wright lost his life, the reason why Michael Brown lost his life, the reason why Eric Garner, the reason why a lot of these individuals keep losing their life, that Drazen Reed here in Indianapolis lost his life, is because of the fact that we have injected hatred into the black environment, basically prepping them to be stooges for the very people who've been trying to kill us for the very last few hundred years. Actually, no. The one person who's been trying to kill us for the last 6,000 years. That's Satan. See, Satan has pushed this lie into the black community, and our language has been in the black community of what Whitey is doing to Blackie. You remember the picture? Let's go back to this thing here with Yug. As we look at the slow drip, or we look at the bursting pipe. Because the bursting pipe, the pipe is no longer going to burst. God's actually going to break the pipe. He's going to remove all the pipes, and everything is going to flood like there's no tomorrow. And speaking of flood, here, let's go into another one that Yug had said. I want to touch this one here. He says, when learning of an infant drowning in the family's bathtub, what's the first question that comes to mind? When learning that an infant is drowning in the bathtub, what is the first question that comes to mind? Now, I had a snarky answer because I knew exactly where he was going. I knew exactly where he was going when he pushes, because of the fact that no one wants to answer that question. The black community doesn't want to answer this question. I said, was the family across the street twerking? Were they sitting there outside on the phone? Were they yelling at Jerry Springer or Maury Povich on the screen? Were they, I should have added more, like other things, rather than being present with the child so that the child would not drown. Because some people are saying, well, where were the parents? There was a video I shared last week, this past weekend. It was a video that there's some $4,000 treadmill, and 2 kids are playing on it, and a little baby boy is playing with his sister is on the treadmill. Treadmill is moving. And the baby is sitting there with the bouncing ball right at the edge of the treadmill, and the treadmill, basically the treadmill sucks the ball and the baby underneath the treadmill, and the treadmill climbs on top of the baby. And I'm sitting here because we're going to go back to Yug's question, because it's a little bit deeper. It's a little bit more if you really want to answer, if you want to hear what's going on here. But I sat there and I watched this treadmill trample all over this child. There's a camera that's videotaping this thing. And I'm like, is this a challenge? Was this a TikTok challenge? Or where were the parents that two little children were on a $4,000 treadmill unattended? Unattended. See, no one wants to have that discussion. No one wants to talk about the fact that a $4,000 treadmill is heavy equipment. Not just expensive equipment. But they want to have a recall. They want to sit there and they want to blame the company of the treadmill why there were children unattended playing on a treadmill. It's literally the same thing that's happening right now with the black community complaining about cops shooting black people, but about people complaining about George Floyd, that people complaining about Dante Wright, about Breonna Taylor, about all these other different things. This is where we are right now because of the fact that you have sat there and played the fool. And God's saying, oh, this is the game you want to play? I got you. See, this is my sandbox. I will build the castles. I'll tear down the castles. And I need you to read Romans chapter 9, 10, and 11. It talks about the sovereignty of God. See, right now, when everybody's talking about he's an on time, you remember when we sing that? Let's come on, folks. Let's see if I can get my Carlton beat snap and snaps and everything like that. I'm going to see if I can pull out one of those old black hymnals that we sang when we were just trying hymnals and everything like that. He's an on time God. Yes, he is. Whoa, whoa, whoa. He's an on time God. Yes, he is. He may not He may not come when you want him, but he'll be here right on time. He's an on-time God. Yes, he is. Now, that song, as horribly that it may be, it signifies that the black community recognized the sovereignty of God. That God shows up on his time, not ours. And see, I believe that those people who were once singing that song are no longer singing that song because of the fact that they've been so wrapped up in secular humanism and wrapped up in their talks, in their discussions about how white folk are tearing about their black communities. And God's like, okay, now it's time for me to show up. Because you guys keep playing the fool. You are injecting the hatred. You are injecting the rebellion into your culture. And you sit here and have the nerve to say that it is white people, that it is the slavery in this nation, that it is the systemic racism, and it is white privilege that has denied you the ability. I have blessed you. I've given you homes. I've given you jobs. I've given you so many blessings. And you keep turning a deaf ear to me. You keep turning a deaf eye to the sin, a blind eye to the sin in your community. I'm going to turn up the volume in your foolery till you can't stand it anymore, that you're vomiting out the level of refuse that's in your culture, in your heart, and in your home. Let's go back to Yug. For those of you who didn't understand about the baby and the bathwater, when learning of a 13-year-old kid out at 2:30 a.m. shooting at cars and then runs from the police and later is shot and killed, what is the first question that comes to mind? Maybe mind is missing because people aren't using their minds right now. Because you don't want to have that discussion. Why is he out 2:30 in the morning? What is he doing 2:30? We know nothing's good going on at nighttime. Nothing's going good. Usually, baby, be back home when the street lamps come on, okay? When the street lamps come on, baby, you make your way home, okay? Don't have me calling you out in the street. Don't have me calling you out in the street when if I have to come to find you when the lamps are on. Oh, we got a problem here. We got a problem, baby. We don't have to talk. We don't have that conversation anymore. See, a lot of this is sparked because of the fact that, last week I decided to share this image. Kids, young kids. Was this Dante Wright or one of the other kids who lost their lives? But here it is. They're showing a picture with them having a gun and a blunt, pointing a gun at the screen. Gat, 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 gat. And now you gat, 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 gat. Exactly what you sowed. But the thing that stirred and sparked this to where we are right now, that we're having this discussion, is because of the fact that a lot of people saying we can't show these images of black kids being hood on social media. It's very interesting now that, do you recognize that they're now not releasing sometimes the images, the names of the shooters until they've scrubbed their Facebook profile? Because they don't want people to go in and do Facebook, social media. They're going out and now scrubbing the image of the person the moment that the name is released. That, guess what? Social media is getting the names of these individuals. Big tech, they're scrubbing the data of these shooters that are black, that are female, that are Hispanic, that are Muslim. They're shutting down, and even now white. They're shutting down their information before the people get a chance to use the very tool that they use to film white guys pushing black people, to film white guys saying the N-word, to have Karens reporting black people. The very tool that they're using to sit there and report the news, they are now censoring because you don't need to know the truth. You don't need to see this. There was another video that another article that Yug had posted on my timeline. 5 little black girls climb a fire escape in the Bronx to rob an apartment in the Bronx. Now, I bet you if we find these kids, if they were 10 minutes after committing the crime, and the police show up to basically confront them, one of them gets mouthy. Some of them, maybe one of them might have a gun or whatever. We don't know, because we won't be able to see their Facebook profile. We won't be able to look at see exactly the mentality behind who they are. That brings them to the point that they're not respecting authority when they're confronted. Stop what you're doing. But we can't have that conversation. We cannot show that historical data. But yet, here we are, when I get to the point of talking about injecting harsh toxins into the environment, is when we sit here as the black community and have the proverbial talk with our kids. Oh yeah, it's worked its way into corporate America. That they know, black people, we have a conversation with our children about the nature of what it's like to be black. That my child we will sit down and we'll have a conversation because of the fact that, you may encounter a police officer, or you may encounter a white person, and because you may be pulled over because of the color of your skin. But understand, darling, honey, do whatever you can. But this is something that has been happening to us for years and eons and decades. So I'm very interested in this as I look here. And we're told we can't show pictures of gangbangers because gangbangers, it's their former life. It could have been a few days. It could have been a few hours. It could have been a few years. It could have been a few decades, but we can't see that. Candace Owens did a most beautiful video. A lot of people don't like Candace Owens, But Candace Owens she put out a video, a stark reality video of what you needed to hear, where she pointed out who George Floyd was. Oh, we don't need to know about who George Floyd is or what he was doing at the time of everything going on, because of the fact that George Floyd, he isn't being judged about what he did in the past. We were dealing with what's happening right now. We can't sit there and have a conversation about what the black person was doing, what their historical, contextual data of their pattern of rebellious behavior. George Floyd, who had the gun, who put it towards a pregnant woman's belly in Texas, but moved states, and y'all thinking that this Negro ain't no more Negro. He's straight N-word. He was always straight N-word. But we don't want to talk about that. And if police cannot presume the guilt of every black person they encounter, why is current society presuming the guilt of every white person they encounter? That's not only one meme that I was pushing out, because I'm telling you, here's the other one. Because as we have this discussion, tell me, if it is wrong to use historical context of a dead black person, and I'll put that even further context, by cop, then it is equally wrong for blacks to have the quote-unquote talk with their kids about a historically racist white America. # prove me wrong. Because we're sitting here and we're injecting. That's the reason why when you look at the image of this broadcast, when you sit here and you see the conveyor belt, you got white privilege on the one side, you got all the social justice terms on the other side, and it's basically going into the funnel. You got the fists of power, the talk and everything like that that's going into the funnel, basically working its way into the syringe, being injected into the black arm, and we sit here and we wonder, why is it that our kids don't want to comply? It's because of the fact that we don't want to comply. We're sitting here I was talking to my buddy about this yesterday. We were sitting here in the talk, setting up our kids to have an adverse reaction to authority. Not dealing with the fact that they were committing a crime, but that you have been pulled over because, now get this too. Let's even talk about the young man in Virginia with the out of control cop who sat there and pulled him over. Let me help you understand something. Window tint. It is a rule. You shouldn't have your windows tinted beyond a certain grade. It is a rule. You can't have your windows tinted because the cops need to be able to see you. But people still break the law and tint their windows darker than they should. So even if the cop has stadium lights on there, it doesn't matter if they have stadium lights to look into your car. You've broken the law because you're not supposed to have your cars tinted beyond a certain number. So I don't care if you're driving a hoopty. I don't care if you're driving a Tesla. If the law says that you can't have your windows tinted and you basically have your windows tinted beyond the acceptable value, you are breaking the law. You are now a criminal. You are now a criminal. That is the reason why you're pulled over. That's the reason why Popo's talking to you. That's the reason why when you get all agitated and fidgety because you know you have outstanding warrants for your nasty behind, but you're going to make this about race. Because the talk told you the reason why you got pulled over was because of the color of your skin. The talk told you that the reason why you heard a phrase from somebody is because of the color of your skin. The talk told you the reason why you can't succeed in life is because it's not because of the fact that you won't stop spending money on hoopties and bling and spending your money on blunts and spending your money on video games and GameStop and playing video games all day long and sagging around in $500 pants and bling around your neck. It's not about that. It's not about the fact that we don't want, like Bill Cosby said, we'll spend $200 on a pair of sneakers rather than on hooked and phonics. Oh yeah, but we happy that Bill Cosby's gone because we'll accept that he's guilty because we don't want to be confronted by the fact that we're teaching and we're injecting the hatred and the racism into our culture. You don't believe me? Here you go. Let's go here. Because I think the problem here is people are tired of their mess being brought to the front. People are tired. I've been forgiven of that. I've been forgiven of what I did to my spouse. I've been forgiven of what I did to my kids. I've been forgiven for what I did to society all those years ago. We don't want our mess being brought up anymore. But if that's the case, that we don't want our mess being brought up again anymore, how dare we have the talk? Because the talk is bringing up mess. And I dare say, let's go even further on this. Because if you're using historical context to basically point to a historically racist white America that your kids may never encounter, and so when they go and they encounter the police, they now are bringing in history in their minds in their confrontation with whites, with police, and any other person of authority based on your insipid lie and generational deception that has been pushed into your culture, into our culture, and we sit here blaming Popo that we got gat. We have inspired our children to be rebellious to authority, and it's in the talk. So if it's wrong to sit here and put in context of gat, then it is wrong to have the talk. And if we don't want to turn around and basically say, forgive me, daughter, son, I was wrong in having that talk with you. Now, because we don't want to be generalized. You don't want to be called a nappy-headed hoe. You don't want to be talked about pull your pants off the ground. You don't want to have that discussion. Because right now, our culture has always been about blaming other folk and saying that it's the man who's, you don't believe me? Okay, here we go. You don't want society bringing up your past, right? Every time we say, when something happens, if a white person did that, they wouldn't have died. The moment that you heard, and you've said, if that was a white person, that's racism. That's injected into the culture. That's black power, black ignorance power. Because that ain't godly power. Oh, let's go first. Oh, every time we say, Dylan Roof was taking the Denny's after shooting 9 black people in church. You fixated on this, but you don't want to talk about Pookie shooting up the neighborhood. Because it was probably Pookie who shot at that dad and his daughter in the Infinity. Pookie and Ray Ray going bang, bang, gang, gang, gat. Every time we say, a white person doesn't understand our struggle, that right there is the most highest form of arrogance, ignorance, and stupidity. And here's why I'm going to say this. Because you generalizing on people you never met and you never saw the pain that they had in their community. So much so that we want to turn around and we want to build this. We want to build this panoply of unity and diversity and inclusion. We want to turn churches into, we need to see more black leadership in churches, but black churches that don't, we want to see more black black faces on churches that we see represented so that we can understand what's going on, that we know that they are eager to have black people in the church. But we go into black churches, but we don't see white faces on there, but we don't have that discussion. Because right now, the idea is making white churches more black, more accepting of blacks. They need to do this. But again, we don't know the history of that church. What if the church was trying to bring in black people? What if the black people that were there were out of order? What if the black people were being held accountable? That they were trying to go through church discipline, and instead of staying there, they said, "Oh, you racist," and they left. But we don't know that. See, we continue to historically go and speak the language that white people don't like black people, that it's in every waking moment. Check our language over the last week, the last month, the last year, the last decade, the last century, and you will find it. When black people say black people can't be racist, oh, that's the talk, baby. That's the talk. I'm your host, Watson Prunier from Battle for Freedom on Mojo Fiber Radio. Brad Staggs and Daily Mojo's up next, and I'm out.